That's the reason. It's my dick. Too thin, okay? My dick is too thin. I got a thin dick! What am I supposed to do? I got the thinnest penis in the world. Here, it's like a Twizzler, look. Thin penis.
3 Academy Award-winning titans sharing the screen for the first time, breaking down barriers and shattering expectations, proving that big things can come from little things. That's why we're reviewing 2003's Tiptoes, starring Gary Oldman, Matthew McConaughey, and Patricia Arquette.
Who won 3? Denzel, probably. Rami Malek. Who else won an
Jared Leto.
Oscar? Oh, okay.
Yep.
He was great in this. He's probably the closest thing to a sort of actor chameleon that I can think of. Because if I didn't read the credits, I would not have guessed it was him.
You helped me by erasing my mind.
He was really good in the movie. We should probably tell people what the movie was called.
Stranger Things.
Yep.
It was actually The Little Things.
So how did you feel about The Little Things?
You guys can't see this, but my avatar is the NPC meme. It's fine. It's okay, but could have used some cuts. Could have used some better dialogue. And I just don't buy Rami Malek as tough, no-nonsense detective.
I mean, I definitely agree with some of the things you've said. When the movie first started, I was like, okay, this is really working for him. Set in 1990. It has a creepy opening. The atmosphere is good. And it really does feel like a 90s movie to me in a good way. And actually, the writer-director actually wrote the script 30 years ago. He was hoping that Clint Eastwood directed it. He had worked with Clint Eastwood a couple times. John Lee Hancock.
I thought I'd recognize the director or at least the writer. I didn't when I saw it, though. What else has Mr. Hancock laid his hands on?
The last movie I saw of his was Highwaymen with Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson. That was about 2 FBI guys who hunted down Bonnie and Clyde.
Didn't see it.
Yeah, that was a Netflix original. It was okay. He also directed The Blind Side. I do think that there's some nice directing touches. I do really like the score in the first half of the movie. It really stuck out to me. It was like this really somber piano. It added to the vibe of the movie. In the second half, they change it and it's more strings, and it didn't really quite work for me.
At the end, there's it's supposed to be kind of a sad moment, but it came across like it was the soundtrack for Matilda or something. The very end.
I will say the biggest problem that I have with the movie is Rami Malek, honestly. He just really does not work at all. He comes across as super creepy, super weird. I didn't buy him as a cop. I didn't buy him as someone a police station would put in front of the press, which I thought was really weird at the beginning. I was like, wait, who the fuck would put this alien-looking weirdo who looks like a serial killer in front of the press?
Questions. Mitch Connor, the Los Angeles Times. Why is your upper lip 3 times the size your bottom lip?
He does not work to me at all. I didn't even buy him as a husband with children.
It was awkward. All the scenes with his family were incredibly awkward.
Did you set the alarm?
Yeah.
It seems when you looked at his kids, I'm like, oh, did he kidnap this woman and children? And is this Stockholm Syndrome?
I have a proposition for you. Do you think it would have worked better if they switched? Jared Leto was probably the best part of this movie for me as what he was, let's say.
Right.
Do you think he and Malik should have switched places?
Well, if Jared Leto had short hair, then yeah, it could have worked.
Well, yeah, obviously they would have cut his hair for him to be a clean-cut 90s LA detective.
Right. And he wouldn't have looked like a heroin addict and his hair all greased up, emaciated.
He was walking around. It reminded me of speaking of Rami Malek, the way he walked, it reminded me of The Master.
Oh, okay. Joaquin, kind of his side kind of shuffle.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Not exactly that, but it was very strange. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, the way he kind of folds his arms. He really did bother me in the movie. And I would say I didn't mind watching it, but I wouldn't rewatch it again. And that's mainly because of him. I also would agree that there's quite a few scenes with him and Denzel where we're just kind of repeating the same information we already know.
I got it written down.
Especially the scene where they have breakfast together.
Oh my God. That and the next scene where he meets his ex-wife. Incredibly awkward.
Both of those scenes I wrote down and I was like, yeah, you could cut these and that would not affect the movie at all.
Or just make it so he meets his ex-wife. If you have to tell us that he has kids and he's not close to them.
Which we already know before because they bring up that Denzel's character, he's been moved outside of LA to kind of this podunk town. And it's revealed that he was so stressed on the case that he had a heart attack, he got a divorce, he had a triple bypass, and that was 5 years ago. We already kind of get that information. And the movie isn't really that long. Without the credits, it's 2 hours and 2 minutes, but still, you definitely could have trimmed some stuff. So I agree with you there. I also agree with what you said about some of the dialogue. The script was wrote 30 years ago. So if this came out 30 years ago, some of the lines wouldn't feel as cliche and on the nose.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, the two lines like when Rami Malek says to Denzel, like, do you believe in God? Like, we've seen that in so many of these kinds of movies. And usually the answer is the hero's like, oh, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in any of that shit. The other thing that really bugs me, which is a line that I absolutely can't stand, which is in so many movies, is, you know, you and me are a lot alike.
We're not so different, you and I.
Yeah, we're not so different as you might think.
We're not so different after all.
That drives me insane. Like, even though when Jared Leto delivers it, it's good. Still, it's like, man, fuck. That's such a cliche. And it's in so many movies. There is definitely some dialogue that is not the best. He's not the greatest screenwriter, John Lee Hancock. Tweaks could have been made, I think, because this is on HBO Max and they want to get content out. I feel like maybe this movie should have had a little more time in the edit bay, you know?
Oh, yeah. How'd you feel about Denzel in it?
I liked Denzel. I thought he was good, but I will say I liked the first half. The second half, I really started to get annoyed by the gum chewing by him.
I didn't even notice once he was chewing gum at all. Weird.
Like every single scene, he's chewing gum, dude. It's like every fucking scene he's chewing gum. It's like his thing in the movie. It's his tick. It drove me insane in the second half. I was like, oh my God, enough of the gum chewing.
You were like your fourth grade teacher.
Right.
Spit out the gum.
Which is hilarious because there is a scene where he spits out the gum.
For me, he was same old, same old. I'm pretty sure I've been on record saying this, that I'm not really that impressed with Denzel, at least not like everybody else is. For the most part, he plays like the same guy in every movie. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong. Training Day probably is number one. There's this movie, A Soldier's Story, that I liked with him.
The white boys danced that night. Passed out leaflets with that boy's picture on it. Called him Moonshine. King of the monkeys.
Glory, obviously. Philadelphia is good. I don't hate him. I don't dislike him.
I think he's really good. He's really good in Flight. That's another performance that was very different. He's spoken on this. I was listening to an interview with him and people asked him, oh, you know, why don't you do a comedy? Why don't you do this and that, these different genres? And he says, I want to. I don't get good scripts like that. He gets a lot of specific scripts. Actually, his son, John David Washington, would read a lot of his scripts and tell him to do certain movies. And he wasn't even going to do Training Day, but his son told him to do it.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, because if people know, which is kind of a fun fact about Denzel, is that he turned down the lead of Seven. He regretted it big time, and that's kind of why his son started reading his scripts. And also, he decided to do Fallen, which is like a Seven ripoff, but it has the supernatural element to it. I like Denzel. I think he got pigeonholed in being some action movies. I love him in Man on Fire. Like you said, he's great in Philadelphia. He's great Glory. He's great Training Day. He's even great in movies like He Got Game and stuff he's done with Spike Lee and stuff. He played Malcolm X and stuff. So I think he's done more varied roles than you think. It's just the past 10 years or so, when you see movies like The Equalizer and Two Guns and shit like that, you can look at him and be like, some of these roles are a little similar.
The score, which we mentioned earlier and I failed to retort, was kind of generic to me. I really dislike the use of pop songs. It felt like he was going for a sort of Tarantino-esque synchronicity, but they were just way too on the nose.
From the radio, the oldies radio station that they bring up.
It felt kind of tacked on. I mean, it didn't really, he learns about it because he visits
Corner.
the coroner, yeah.
She brings it up. Yeah, and there is one later on in the film that did kind of bug me, that felt out of place, but some of the songs didn't work for me. Yeah, I would say that. But I think most people, that's probably not going to stick out. But I will say, I really, first half of the movie, when it was the piano score, I really dug it. It really worked for me. A lot of scores now in movies are very generic and samey, and I don't even pay attention to them. So for me, even to perk up a little when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, you perked up just like when you saw that dead corpse.
Yeah, all the dead women with bags over their heads. So were there any other actors that stood out to you besides Leto or anything?
It's a good thing you said that. Clearly, this guy is a huge fan of early 2000s HBO. We have McManus from Oz, we have Sabatka from The Wire, and we have Barksdale's sister from The Wire. Oh, and FYI, McManus looks like total fucking shit now, man. That guy needs to get a fucking diet plan.
Sal was great.
Oh, yeah.
I wish she was in the movie way more, man. This is what I really liked about the movie, which I do want to bring up, is that we've talked about this before, about how a lot of modern movies just hire really attractive people who don't really have any screen presence.
They're hot.
Yeah, they're models who are saying their lines. Sometimes they have a fucking earpiece delivering the lines to them. It's nice to see someone like, the actor's name is Chris Bauer, who plays Sal, who has a lot of character in his face. That's why they have the term character actor. He just has a look that brings you into the world.
He looks like a real fucking person.
Yes, it makes it more believable. Even the actress who plays the coroner,
Barksdale's sister.
that's really important for film, in my opinion, and something I'm really noticing in a lot of major studio movies where they just want to kind of scrub that away. That's a problem as far as like immersion for me, because some of those are the best actors working, those character actors. So it was really nice to see him. I like his banter with Denzel in the diner and stuff. It just feels really natural. It doesn't feel fake. It feels like these people really knew each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He was a standout. I wish he was in the movie more.
You think just scrub Rami Malek and replace him with that guy? Would that have helped you at all?
That would have been better if it was just like, oh, hey, the partners are getting back together again. We're reteaming together. I think that would have worked a lot better. But Rami Malek is the sexier name. He won an Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody. And, I'm sure that helped get the movie financed and stuff, but it makes me think about, and this is probably going to be a weird comparison, but you know how when Back to the Future was made, Michael J. Fox was not cast in the role?
Yeah, they shot a bunch of scenes with Eric Stoltz.
The reason why I bring up Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future is that, oh God, what's his name who directed it?
Zemeckis.
Zemeckis.
What do you want, drugs?
Yeah.
Cool.
Zemeckis shot quite a bit of the movie. He realized, I think it was like a quarter of the way through, he went to the producers and he's like, this is not working. We got to recast this and we can't wait any longer. And Rami Malek, he's an Academy Award winner. So, firing him and recasting him is kind of off the table. There's just no way to me that people on that set didn't realize, like, this doesn't work. He does not work in that movie at all. He just doesn't.
I only see him as, like, I never saw Bohemian Rhapsody, but whenever I see him, I can never not think about his role in The Master. I don't know why.
Really? For me, I just think about him in Mr. Robot, and that's just kind of it. I will say, before we go into spoilers, I did really like the scenes between Denzel and Leto. There's not a lot of them. Those two together in those scenes, there is this palpable energy, especially the scene which is in the trailer of Denzel shining that flashlight at him and talking about, is this car for sale and everything like that. It's just a simple scene like that. So good to me. Even the voice that Jared Leto is doing in this, the specific pattern of speech is just, it's really good. He really draws you in. He did a good job.
I know who you are. You're famous on television and the papers all the time. Thank you so much.
Is there anything else about the movie you wanted to bring up before spoilers?
Bring up bite mark analysis a couple times. From based on documentaries I've seen, bite mark analysis is basically bullshit. Not only that, they're gonna get his bite mark from a fucking slice of pizza.
Once again, I'm like, okay, if this came out 30 years ago in the 90s, it wouldn't seem so stupid because we wouldn't have had all those crime shows.
Yeah, they were all about it back then.
And I will say, I did really like the scene where the coroner folds the pizza in half and she goes, he's from the East Coast. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. I liked that. It was a nice touch.
One more scene that kind of was awkward and didn't really work for me. When they're interrogating the suspect, Denzel, he like starts beating on the wall and pushing him against the wall. It's like, dude, this is 1990 LA. Fucking punch him. Do something.
Right. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to Rodney King yet. It was kind of full blown, whatever the fuck goes.
We'll just take him in back and beat him with a fucking rubber hose.
Right. Well, I think the times we're in might have something to do with why they didn't do that.
But at the same time, Denzel's black, he's white. They would have got all the SJW points if they pulled that move. Do you recommend The Little Things, though?
I do recommend The Little Things. Obviously, if you have HBO Max, watch it. If you like serial killer movies and mystery thrillers, I would recommend you watch it. If you're a Denzel fan, watch it. I didn't love it. I am very mixed on it. It's one of those movies where I wouldn't say to go out of your way. I wouldn't say to subscribe to HBO Max for this movie, but there's a lot of movies coming out to HBO Max. You feel like you want to watch, like there's certain movies you really want to watch that are going to come out. This is one that I think you could find some enjoyment out of.
I'm not going to recommend it. It was, except for Jared Leto and, as you mentioned, Sabaka, whatever his real name is, I just didn't really feel attachment to this movie at all. Felt like standard kind of serial killer movie, but I don't want to say neutered. It was lacking something for me.
It definitely wore out its welcome for me in the second half. Like I said, I wouldn't watch it again, mainly because of Rami Malek. He kind of ruined the movie for me. I do think a lot of people would get enjoyment out of this, and maybe they wouldn't be as bothered by some of the things that we are from seeing so many movies. It's tough for me to give like a hard no, don't watch this. You know, I just, it's tough for me.
Let's go to spoilers. What spoilers do you want to discuss?
Well, the first thing I kind of want to get into, and maybe we could have talked about that earlier, the interrogation scene with Leto. There was a couple lines that he gave that I really liked.
Ernesto Miranda was guilty.
No, that was not. But,
fuck you. That was classic. How often are you going to get a Ernesto Miranda reference in a movie?
That one went over my head.
Oh, Miranda writes.
Oh, okay. All right. When Rami Malek walked in,
Where's Big Dick Tracy?
I liked that line. I also really liked it when Denzel picks up the phone and we see the light going off in the interrogation room on Rami Malek's phone. And he picks up the phone and Jared Leto's just like, I'll have pineapples and jalapenos.
Is it for me?
He was really good in that scene.
He is easily the best part of this movie for me.
Yeah, and he's really not in it that much.
We don't meet him until at least like halfway through, I think.
It's about like 38, 40 minutes like the first time we see him.
Yeah, at the appliance repair shop or whatever it was.
I will say this is kind of a spoiler. It reminded me of the movie The Pledge with Jack Nicholson.
I thought about it briefly, but I didn't. What made you think about The Pledge?
Well, obviously, spoilers for The Pledge if you've never seen. Jack Nicholson plays a cop who never solved a certain case, and he's retiring, and he's kind of haunted by this case. Basically, it looks like he's been chasing a ghost, and the person that he thinks is the killer isn't, but they actually are. When we find out at the end of the movie, and they die, car crash. Kind of, we see the scenes. This is the inverse of that, where they kill the guy who's clearly not the killer, but just a weirdo sex pervert for these kind of crime things. And he has a police scanner in his house, and he just kind of gets off on this stuff.
Yeah.
We even find out 8 years earlier, he basically
murdered an innocent woman.
Well, no, he said that he did, and he wrote out this really descriptive thing, but that was in the news. And they said,
Jared Leto. Yeah.
Yeah, Jared Leto. And it says that, the timetables don't match up. He wasn't even at this area. It's just he gets off on this stuff.
Yeah.
But he likes fucking with the cops. He likes looking at these crime scene photos. He likes looking on the paper at this shit. And he likes to antagonize the police.
He's a pest.
That worked, but yeah, it did remind me of The Pledge. The ending is the inverse of that. It's similar. I mean, I did see Rami Malek killing him coming a mile away, especially when he's bringing up his wife and his children. I'm like, okay, he's going to hit him with this fucking shovel. He's exhausted.
That reminded me of Seven.
Yeah.
But obviously he was just bluffing. He didn't want to and had no way of perpetrating such a crime.
That one scene, the outskirts of LA, them digging the holes, it does feel very reminiscent of Seven. The movie on the whole, I don't feel is very reminiscent of Seven.
No, the only real connection is there's a serial killer on the loose.
Right. I thought that was interesting. I also think the payoff that Denzel actually killed what would have been probably the only witness that could have solved this serial killer. He killed her by mistake. The coroner keeps the bullet on
Keychain.
kind of thing to remember. I thought that was interesting. You could have cut the scenes of him in the motel looking at the pictures. That's very kind of cliche.
Oh, that was useless. Yeah.
Yeah. And even that scene with him like kind of drunk, it's like you could have cut all that out. It was pointless.
Honestly, they could have shortened that ending desert digging scene. It just went on for too long for me.
I would agree. I mean, I think they were trying to build up the tension. I did like that he was fucking with him and he's like, oh no, it's not here. And then he makes an X with his foot.
X marks the spot.
I did like that he was playing games with him like that. He just says, I've never killed anyone ever in my life. So let's just go in the car. Let's go get tacos. It's just like so matter of fact.
I like the ending. We'll get into it after this, I'm sure. But there's some very, very dumb moments in this movie. First off, you think this guy is a serial killer. You're just going to get into his car with him. You got a gun. So he can't have a gun in his car waiting for you?
There's definitely some scenes where you go, wait, what is this character doing right now?
When they have a possible witness, the girl from the opening, she sees him.
Yes. Yeah.
They're showing him pictures of cons and stuff. She's like, that's him. You have him in here right now. He's in handcuffs. We can't use her. That's witness tampering. Later that night, he tricks Jared Leto to go into a bar so Denzel can go and sneak into his apartment and look around. So you're against witness tampering, but not warrantless searches and breaking and entering.
Well, he's getting very frustrated. They show him in the car kind of freaking out and hitting shit, and that he can't stand being on the tail. But I agree with you. Two of the instances of suspending your disbelief do involve that girl, where it's like he tells her, keep an eye on her. She's going to the bathroom. And then the girl's just like, oh, you know, whatever. You can find your way back. I'm like, what the fuck? This is like a main witness. You need to protect this person. So that drove me insane. Also, at the very beginning of the movie, when the girl gets out of her car, I was like,
why are you getting out of your fucking car, you idiot?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not out of gas. You didn't get a flat tire. There's no lights on at this station. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, there's a gas station with no cars and no lights on. Maybe somebody will help me there.
That was very strange. Even though it was creepy at the start of it, I was like, wait, what are you doing, bitch? Like, what if, what are you doing?
Don't run up the stairs, you dumb bitch. Go out the front door.
No, it's just, what's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
I felt like I was watching a slasher movie where everyone's doing something stupid. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? The other scene was, like you said, with Rami Malek getting in the car. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? And Jared Leto does say, he saes, oh, your friend isn't invited.
Your butt buddy isn't invited.
Right. Like you said, there's definitely a few scenes where you're like, all right. A lot of movies have that. It does stick out.
Did you like the ending?
I'm conflicted about that because it's different, but at the same time, it made me think a lot about Zodiac and how you get kind of the end of the Zodiac. And a lot of people, I could see them being frustrated by the ending because it's like, while it does imply who the killer is, we still don't really know. And Zodiac's a long movie until you get to the end and it's just like, oh, well, we don't really know. You know, with this movie, it's like, once again, it's like, well, we got to the end and we don't know who the killer is. They're going to keep killing probably. And
yeah, but at the same time, it wasn't really, it's kind of an apples and oranges argument. Yeah, it was about
the killers being the cops.
Yeah.
I mean, the real killers are the cops. They both killed innocent people. They basically are getting away with it, covering it up. Denzel even says, nobody will even care about him. He's just going to rot in the ground.
I like where it was going after that. He just killed this guy and they just covered it up. He's sitting by his swimming pool and all of a sudden, don't fucking tell me exactly what happened. Don't give me the red beret to assure me that he really was the killer and Rami Malek, well, not morally a good decision, maybe ethically was to kill a serial killer. But I did like that twist where it turns out, no, just to ease his mind, Denzel went and bought a red beret.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did like that. It is the nice touch, but I thought that immediately when the red beret came out. I mean, even though he had all of his stuff in the garbage bags, how did you think the movie was going to end? Did you think he was the killer? What did you think was going to happen?
I thought he was the killer until we see that Denzel just bought the beret because he's reaching into the lockbox. Oh, he's going to find the beret in there. Oh, he's going to find some bitch's toe.
I would agree with you that I think it is kind of the better direction to kind of subvert the audience and to make them judge this guy, you know, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's going to the strip club. He's buying fast food for hookers. You know? He's all greasy. You know, he looks like a fucking killer.
You just love bringing up the greasiness, don't you?
Have you ever seen The Greasy Strangler?
I did not, but I've heard good things.
If you can handle extremely, extremely weird, absurdist shit.
What was the last episode we did? I have fly blood in my veins. At first, I'm like, okay, Jared Leto's definitely going to kill this guy or come close. And then Denzel's going to embark upon him, kill him, go back to whatever podunk Northern California town he was in.
Congratulations,
Kern County.
You've been
Rudy.
Nobody's saved.
After he kills Jared Leto, I thought it was just going to be standard. Yeah, he did kill him, but he did turn out to be the serial killer, and then that's it.
I originally was kind of hoping that it would go really dark, you know, like Seven, and you would get like him
digging up his own children and wife.
No, like basically killing Rami Malek, who was like not completely killing Rami Malek, but like hitting him and putting him in one of the holes.
That's what I thought it was going to go. I even thought about this, how maniacal it is to trick someone into digging their own grave as opposed to pointing a gun at them and just saying, dig.
Thing is that he had Rami Malek dig a bunch of holes. So I thought it would have been interesting if he put him in the grave, he kind of filled up the other holes, and then Denzel comes and he's there with the shovel. And there's all these holes, and Rami Malek is still kind of alive, but then he finally tries to dig up a hole with Rami Malek, but he's died anyway.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been kind of interesting.
It could have been, but not cliche, but very standard for action thriller kind of movies.
Yeah, it would have been a very nihilistic type of ending that I would see people more.
What was the name of that movie? They remade it with Ryan Reynolds, I think, where this guy's looking for his wife's killer. Or he's looking for his wife. She doesn't know he's dead. It's like Swedish or German, maybe. And he ends up in a grave at the end.
The Vanishing. You talking about The Vanishing?
The Vanishing. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, spoilers for The Vanishing.
I'll cut
if you
this
haven't
out.
Seen it yet.
You kept talking about burying him and stuff, and I kept thinking about that. I'm like, wait, what the fuck is that movie? I kind of liked it.
Yeah, you're right. That would have seemed a little biting of Vanishing. But I would have liked it though. That Jared Leto would have just like kind of held his hands up in the air with like the shovel and everything, and Denzel screaming and like, where is he? Where is he?
Let's play a game of Minesweeper, detective.
Right. It's like, find him. Dig your little hands into the dirt.
What the fuck?
Dig your hands into the dirt, little man. Find him. Find him. Do you have any final thoughts on the movie?
No, nothing new or original. It's very generic. Could use some cuts, could use some better dialogue, could use with a better lead. Well, side lead. Other than that, nothing much.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo. I think there's some good moments on the freeway when he's kind of chasing Jared Leto. Like I said, it's mostly just scenes with Leto and Denzel. But I mean, it could have been better. For a script that's 30 years old, they could have used, maybe a couple rewrites.
A little touch up. It could have been much worse, though. I went in expecting it to be shitty, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's enjoyable. It's nowhere near something like Prisoners, which is a modern classic.
I was thinking about Prisoners, too.
Well, what I brought up about being buried.
Yes.
Probably. My head was going towards Prisoners. I was thinking about Prisoners because you brought up about Rami Malek and someone else, and I did think about Jake Gyllenhaal. It would be treading ground for him playing another cop.
But he would have been a lot fucking better. I can tell you that.
Yeah, he would have been way better. It would have been better to see because he's in that same age range of Rami Malek, like 35. where I think him and Denzel would have worked more of old, grizzled, kind of past his prime cop and the younger guy, you know?
The younger up and coming scrappy son of a bitch. All right, that's how she wrote it, I guess. That's the news that's fit to print, baby.